Perfect. Well, thank you guys for those of you who are on here. I'm excited to share some of my Instagram tips with you. I actually put together a little presentation that's going to help you with a couple things. We're going to talk about how I create 30 days of content in one day, which this is one of the #1 things that people ask me because I've got a lot going on, just like everybody else. And Instagram and social media can sometimes feel like it takes a lot of your time. Like it'll take an hour to post a post or something. So I love to come up with this strategy, which helps people to actually shortcut that whole process. And then with that, we're also going to talk about the 3 ways that I generate leads on Instagram. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but these 3 have proven to be the best for me. So I will go ahead and pull up my little slides over here and we can go ahead and get started. Can everyone see that?
I can see it clearly.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I will go ahead and get going. So I have my chat pulled up. So if you guys have any questions, just ask over there. I should be able to see them.
Perfect.
Well, let's get going. So again, thanks you guys for being here. I know that it took a lot for you to be here, and it shows me that you are really committed to your business, really committed to learning how you can be the absolute best at what you are doing, which is incredible. There is a lot of content in here, and I'm trying to make sure to give you guys as much value as possible. So I recommend that you take some notes, whether it's pen and paper or on your computer, however you prefer. Notes are amazing. And then there will be a little section for Q&A. There's actually a few. So ask me as much as you want, any of your Instagram questions. And then last but not least, I'm an open book. And my goal, I've been to a lot of classes, a lot of trainings, a lot of things where you end up getting all this information and then you kind of leave feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to begin. I feel like I have more confusion than when I started, right? So that's not what we want. We want to actually do the opposite of that and give you guys all the tips to actually put this into action and start seeing results right away. A lot of the stuff I'll show you, you can literally jump on your Instagram and do it today and hopefully be generating some leads. So I'm all about action. The other stuff, the other fluff is all right, but I'm about like taking real action. So really quick, a little bit about me. My name is Tessa Bella. You can call me Tessa. I am a digital marketing professional. I've helped over 500 companies across the country. I'm a social media strategist and consultant, but above all of that, my primary is real estate, just like you guys. So I started in 2014 in Phoenix, really all over the valley, but focusing especially in historic Phoenix was kind of my bread and butter. And now I get to run a growing team of over 6 agents. So it's really a lot of fun getting to be on all sides of this kind of spectrum, on the agency side, realtor side, investor, and I've been active in all 3. So I really understand the struggles that we can go through in this industry. And I wanted to come up with a solution that kind of brings the digital marketing world and the real estate world together to eliminate those issues, right? So I'm going to be showing you guys that in my framework today, which is exactly how I do it. There's nothing being hidden from you. This is the real deal. So let's get going with 30 days of lead generating Instagram content in one day. First of all, I pulled these from the group, actually. I loved this question. Somebody had asked what the #1 thing that most agents struggled with, and I loved seeing all of these amazing responses because so much of it was based around lead generation. Peter mentioned that he doesn't get a lot of quality leads. For me, Instagram solves all of this. In 2018, literally 78% of my closed transactions came directly from Instagram, and that was from free lead generation. I do a little bit of paid advertising on Instagram, but almost completely all for free. And the reason these are really great quality leads is because we're allowing them to see who we are. That's what's great about Instagram is you're actually able to connect with people on a bit of a different level. And I'm a big believer that people buy from people. We want to connect with who it is that's selling us something and who it is that's solving our problems. So that's what we can really do on Instagram that is so great. Hi. Few other responses that really caught my eye was Stephanie mentioned that she hates cold calling. I actually used to be the biggest wimp when it came to cold calling. Now I don't mind it. I love it. But it's a lot more fun to talk to warm leads, right? I think everybody could agree. that it's more fun to talk to somebody when it's inbound or when they already kind of have that respect for you. They see your expertise, and that's just going to be a lot more fun. So Instagram allows us to generate those warm leads because we're constantly showing them what we have to offer and how we can solve their problems, which allows them to have that, you know, additional level of respect for us and a way to kind of connect further. Just a few more. Tony, this is one that I get a lot. Okay, so I've helped a lot of agents all across the country. And something I hear a lot is, okay, well, I've got a good business built up. I get some referrals. I work with past clients, but I don't have like a new stream of leads. And now, of course, that's kind of a good problem to have. Having those referrals is something we don't ever want to complain about. But when you don't have control over the new leads coming in, then your business is not in your control. You don't have that kind of consistency and the ability to crank in more leads if you wanted to. So adding a new stream of leads from Instagram is really important because it allows you to always fill up that pipeline while also staying in touch with your current clients, past clients, and kind of your sphere of influence. So as again, it's just all about leads. Even if we have a lot of leads, everybody wants some more. So I want to ask you guys just a couple quick questions. And if this is you, you can throw it over in the chat. I would love to see if you agree. But have you ever gone to post on Instagram and it felt like it took you literally an hour finding the right photo, figuring out what you should say? Should I put a hashtag? What even is a hashtag? Or maybe you do take that time to make that post and it felt like you put a lot of time, put a lot of effort, and it gets 20 likes or 25 likes. And you're like, well, shoot, that's kind of embarrassing. That's kind of frustrating. So maybe you've just pawned social media off on somebody else completely, either paying an agency or having somebody you know run it for you, because it kind of feels like a waste of time. It feels like you put a lot of time into it and you're not seeing much out of it, but you feel like it's still important. So if you've never closed a transaction that you generated from Instagram, or you felt like this before, then I really want to give you the tools to kind of find a resource to overcome that, actually start doing it. So that's going to be a thing of the past because we're going to learn how to beat that, okay? So what we're learning today, like I said, is the 30 days of content in only one day. And this is not just going to be like a picture of a cutesy kitchen or something with saying, oh my gosh, so pretty, so dreamy. I've definitely been guilty of those in the past, but they just don't bring you real leads. They obviously are attractive to the eye, but they're not doing a whole lot for you. So I want to teach you how to build a database, build an audience that actually converts because you're providing them so much awesome content. So with that, the 3 principles, and this is where I'd really recommend writing this down if you've got your notes out, is the principles of Instagram content, okay? So this is what I want you to think about every single time you go to put out a new piece of content or something new for people to consume, is incorporating these 3 things, the 3 E's. So we've got entertainment, emotion, and education. And I'm going to break down what those look like because it's so important that you have at least one of these in every piece of content. But if you can combine a couple, that's going to be even better. My first one is entertainment. So on average, we have 70,000 thoughts going on in our head a day, which is insane. But you have to think about that when you're posting something and you want to get somebody's attention. How are you going to compete with the other 69,999 of them? You know, you have to figure out what it is that's going to stick out. And then on top of that, the average person's checking their phone 400 times a day. When I first heard that, I was like, no, there is no way I'm checking my phone that much. But I started paying attention to it, and it's scary accurate how many times we pick up our phones and look at it throughout the day. And so you have to find a way to like entertain somebody in a way that sticks out more to them, so that they actually remember what it is that you're doing. So like an okay picture of the front of a house is not going to really stick out in their memory when they're thinking about who they want to help them buy or sell a property. So when thinking about entertainment, we can do this in a couple different ways. We can add, you know, creative videos. We can have funny memes. We can have beautiful backgrounds even. If you've got, you know, a home office or you work from an office space, you can create a little area where you can create content from that has an appealing background. At the end of the day, what's entertaining for people is something that looks great. You know, it has to be high quality content. It has to really capture their attention. It could be, if you're doing a quick market update video, you could throw some soft music behind it. Whatever it is to just differentiate yourself from everything else that's on there. So finding those little ways that you could be doing that is super powerful. The next E that's super important is emotion. So emotion is so key because everybody remembers the way that you make them feel, right? That's how you remember a lot of the people that you come in contact. So if you can make your audience feel something, you're going to have a much better time connecting with them overall. So many of us, I like to think of this like many of us have our own real estate story, whether it was your own experience or a family member, a grandparent, a brother, a sister, somebody who went through something with real estate, or maybe even a client who had a really heartwarming story, heart-wrenching story, and you were able to serve them and able to help them. So I like to pull that in because that's a part of my why. When I'm able to help people in a different way and serve them because of that, I like to tell that story because there are other people that have that same situation. So bringing kind of your why into your what helps you to have a lot better connection with people that are out there. So that's pulling in the emotional side of it. And our last E is education. And I would go to say that this is probably the most important one because I truly think this is our job as real estate professionals to be kind of that liaison that brings the real estate world and the general public or our general consumer together. Like simplifying something so that they can understand. Because so often I'll see, you know, a market update like that's a screenshot of some crazy graph or a chart or some infographics or something that of course to us that makes a lot of sense because we know what it's saying. But to the general public, they're probably just going to keep scrolling past that because they have no idea what it really means. So it's kind of our duty to break that down for them and help them understand more of what that means. And I like to think of education in another way as well. When we're working with clients, we usually have the two main times that we can communicate with them, when they want to buy or when they want to sell. Of course, there should be other times that we have that relationship built. But if you're focusing a lot on how you can educate people and provide value to them beyond just those two transactions, then you're going to have so many other opportunities to build up that relationship and really stay kind of top of mind to them. So those are the 3 E's that we're going to pull in. Yeah.
I have a question, Tessa. How do you recommend striking a balance between the 3 E's here? And
yeah, that's a great question.
How do you do it?
So I don't really have a specific structure on like hitting each one a certain amount of times. I think that it's important, and I'll go into showing examples of the exact content that I share, and those are kind of where I pull it in. The big one that I really emphasize, like I said, is education, because we are professionals. We have this extended knowledge that other people don't have. So as many times as you can pull that into what it is that you're sharing and showing people that you have this knowledge that they don't have, that's why they're using you, that's why they're hiring you to help you, then that's kind of what I pull it in most often. So now that we've got our 3 E's conquered, let's get into what kind of people want to see, the content that they actually want to see on Instagram. So the first thing that I always think about is who's looking at your content? Who are you speaking to? Who's your audience? Who's your avatar? What is this kind of specific group of people that you're speaking to or catering to? And I see a lot of agents kind of miss the mark here. And I think that this is either because you're not super clear on who the ideal client is, or we're afraid to niche down because you think, oh, well, if I only market to first-time buyers, I'm going to be stuck in this kind of pigeonhole and nobody else is going to work with me. So both of those things I want you to just crumple up and kind of throw away because we don't need to worry about them too much, okay?
All right.
What I have found is when you actually get really specific with who you're talking to, people see you as even more of kind of an expert. It's just like how we look at a brain surgeon, right? They're very niche, they're very specific, and they are the top of their industry because they are so specific. So I'm not saying to exclude anybody, but when you get a little more clarity on who you can help and the people that you love to serve, it gets a lot easier to create content that they want to digest, that they want to learn from. Yeah.
So a question here. When I'm doing a live, usually I think of a younger version of me when I started, and then I'm like talking to myself, right? So I can feel a little more comfortable.
Yes.
And I find that helps a lot because most agents are trying to figure out something along the lines that we've already accomplished. So that has helped me out.
Yeah. I love that you said that. I like to think of it that way too. And sometimes people don't realize that their niche is actually a former version of themselves, but it almost always is somebody that you've been in that situation or you've experienced that situation. So I love that you pointed that out, but that can be a great way that we're able to help and serve people in a different way, because it's easier to speak to them once you know who you're speaking to. And the reason for that, just kind of like you said, is you already get their pain points. You understand their why, you understand what they might be struggling with. If you're trying to help a single mother who wants to move her family to a really safe neighborhood where she knows they're going to be secure, where she knows she'll be by the safest and best school districts, then you know how to best communicate to her. You can kind of tap into those pain points, tap into those triggers, and it's even easier for you to serve them and give them the best stuff that they are looking for. So now that we've kind of figured out how to do that, this is going to be your first time and first opportunity to grab a lead from Instagram. Okay? Yes.
So for me, one of my biggest struggles is when I sell a property, I sell the property to the person buying it. You kind of know if the price point, you know what I mean? You have an idea of who's buying it. How are you creating this organically without having a property? It's easy when I'm saying, oh, this home is perfect. Look at the kitchen, look at this. And now it's like, oh, okay, how do you do that without knowing who you're targeting, I guess? Or what are you using content-wise? I suppose is better.
That's a great question. So that's kind of where identifying who you want to be working with is going to be really helpful, because then you can gear a lot of the content that you are putting out towards who you want to be communicating to. And you'll obviously start attracting more of those people, but it'll also give you the platform for when you do have somebody that, you're selling directly to them and you're communicating directly about a specific property. You already know how to kind of tap into that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, it's perfect. You just blew my mind, because I've been trying to figure that out, because I feel like my Instagram is kind of disjointed. It's like all over the place, and I'm trying to make it consolidated, and that makes sense because I've never looked at it that way.
Brittany, you're just telling her that your Instagram sucks right now. And you're trying
Well, it's actually much better, because I found I met Tessa couple weeks ago, and I started listening to everything that she was doing, and I've noticed organically, just by me listening to a couple of minutes and putting in maybe 5 or 10 steps, I've gained 20 additional followers. Much more engagement than I had before, and it kind of surprises me. I'm still not at that Instagram story thing yet. I'm working on it.
Getting there. It's all a process, but that's awesome. I love to hear that. Love to hear that. So this can be a first time that you grab a lead. And this is probably, I would say this is my second biggest source of leads on Instagram. We'll get to the first, but I'm saving that one for last. So the second best is right here. Now that we've identified who we're speaking to, we can fit that into our Instagram bio, and we can give them what they want in order to capture what we want, which we want is a lead, right? What they want is something of value that's going to help them. And so, of course, here I'm using an example of millennial first-time buyers, but you can use this resource for truly any niche that you're communicating to. And I really do believe that. I get that question a lot of people are like, okay, well, I don't want to talk to first-time buyers. I'll give you a few examples of how you can kind of switch that up. But for example, in this bio here, you can see it says helping millennial first-time buyers buy and invest with total confidence. So if I was a first-time buyer, I would know that I could look at this and think, okay, this person's inside my head. These are the people I want to help me buy a house because they're speaking to me. They're telling me they're going to help me with confidence. They've got all of this figured out. So they already kind of have that level of comfort and trust with you just from reading that one sentence. And then we get to the important part where I'm saying download our free first-time buyer's guide with a little link down below. So there's a few places that you can direct them. If you have your own website and you want to add another little page on there for a landing page, that's an awesome option depending on what your website is, where they just put in their name, phone number, and email, and they get a quick, easy download that's maybe a 5 to 10 page ebook that walks through the steps of buying your first house. Another option, which I personally love, is I use lead pages. I think it's $20 a month, and they're templates. So it's all these websites that are pre-built out. And it's just a single page where you can type in your own info, throw your logo on it in seriously 5 minutes, and you can put your downloadable in there. So they put in their information, it downloads, and you've just captured an awesome lead. So this is one of the major ways that I generate a lot of our leads off of Instagram, is just by doing this simple thing. And
I think Tristan and I at the same time just had a light bulb went off. You could see it because we both jerked at the same time. What? We do this on Facebook. Why have we never thought?
Yeah. Yeah,
you
it's an
can
awesome
see
way.
we both flinched at the same time, which meant light bulb. It was like ding, 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 ding. Oh my God,
Awesome.
it's on my mind right now.
I feel like a loser right now.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like an idiot right now, but you're going.
No, that's good. So a few other ways you could like swap that out for something else. You could have maybe a list of open houses coming up in your neighborhood that weekend. You could have a guide to the local farmers market. You could have, you know, the best zip codes with the best school districts. You could put any sort of guide together depending on who your target market is and give them something that's going to be really valuable to them. I'm just using the example of like a first-time buyer because that's a really awesome one too. So now that we've kind of figured out that, let's show you how I break down my 30 days of content in a day. And I do this for every client I've ever helped. I do this for myself. I do this for every student that I work with, is I teach them this exact same way, and it works so well because it saves you that time. So I start with something as simple as this. It's got 7 categories and 5 rows. So I always mix up which ones are the rows and the categories, but that's what it looks like, okay? And then we're gonna label it. So across the top, I've got elements of me and elements of my business. So basically, these are just the key components of what it is that I do. So if you serve, like I worked with a woman the other day who she specializes in green homes, working in like sustainable homes. So that's a whole element of her business that's unique, that's special to her. Okay, and then down the side, I have my categories of connection. So what that means is these are the different ways that I'm displaying what the elements of my business are in a way that people can like me, know me, and trust me in a different way. So let me show you what that looks like before we fill it all the way out. This is how I break those categories. And of course, this is kind of generalized just to give you a good concept of what this is. So my first one is buyers, of course, working with buyers. Second is working with sellers. Third is local. I really recommend that everyone has local. Of course, we want people to recognize us and know us as like a local authority and somebody that can really help them. So I recommend having that category there. The next one is decor. And if you're looking at that thinking, well, I don't really know much about decor, I don't want to talk about it, all that kind of stuff, you can swap it out for anything. What I recommend is having a category that is useful to the majority of your clients, but doesn't directly relate to real estate. So that could be like landscaping tips, that could be recipes, that could be DIYs, that could be, if you work with a lot of investors, it could be talking about investment tips or like things like that. So something that kind of complements the real estate industry, but isn't directly related to it. The next one I love to use is loans. I do work a lot with my preferred lender. We create a lot of awesome content together because I always want to give off the impression that I have a really unified front. I found a team that I love to work with. And so I think that presenting that as we come as like this package deal, we have everything you need right here is a great impression for a lot of people. And then the last one is process, which the process is everybody on average knows 9 realtors. It's probably increased from that, honestly. I think that was a statistic like a year or 2 ago. So it's probably even more than that. So you want to show ways that you like execute your business in a different way that helps you to stand out from other people. So I'll show you examples of what all this looks like filled in. And then my categories of connection are a tip, a win, trust, and you. So the tip is pretty straightforward. I'm going to be giving tips. That's where I'm doing a lot of that education. So I'm pulling in that E there. The wins are where I'm kind of tooting my own horn. I want people to know that I'm really killing it in this business. I want people to see what I'm doing. And I think if you're not shouting from the rooftops the accomplishments you've made, then you're missing out on a big chunk of your market. And if you're newer or you don't have a ton yet, you can leverage things from your brokerage, leverage things if you're a part of a team, or if you have some of your own smaller wins, you can still be celebrating those too. The next one is trust. And again, that's where we're going to pull in a lot of that emotion, which is that another E there. Trust is really where I want to show people that they are more than a paycheck to me. I'm not just looking at every person like a transaction, and I'm treating them like a real human being. So that's how I'm allowed to do that on social media, because sometimes it's hard to communicate that across the internet, right? And then the last one is you. So I get this question a lot. I'm sure a lot of you might have the similar question, but should I have a personal account? Should I have a business account? Should I have multiple accounts? What's that look like? I'm a big believer in having one account. And of course, there are a couple instances where it makes sense to have multiple, but I think that one is really powerful because you're able to show people those different elements of you. You put a face to the brand. You are building up truly a personal brand around yourself, so that if you do ever pivot, or you do go out and build a team, or you do something else, like, you already have this amazing personal brand built because you're showing people who you are. So it kind of adds additional connection elements. So now what this looks like all filled in is this. And I'll break down, I'm going to go through a couple of these to give you an example. And then I will show you how we take this and turn it into the content. Okay. So I want you to think of this chart as like your subjects or your headlines or the topics that we're going to kind of be talking about. So again, the tips are pretty straightforward. We could do a buyer tip, seller tip. For local, I could be giving maybe my best local restaurant or my favorite pizza place, or things like that, best local areas. For that decor category, I could be giving something really useful. And again, if you're looking at that saying, okay, well, I don't have clean, functional kitchen counters, mine are a mess, then you could hop on. I love just the resource of Pinterest. It's a free site for everyone to use. If you go to Pinterest and type in kitchen counters, I would be willing to bet you that would probably be one of the first things that would come up. And you could click on it. It's a blog post. You can draw some inspiration for some great valuable content there. Obviously, if you are replicating those tips, be sure to cite your resource. If you're just drawing some inspiration for it and you're going to use your own content, then just kind of get some inspiration from there. So now those are all my tips. The wins, like I said, this is where you're tooting your own horn. So you could congratulate your buyers you're working with. You could talk about a great sale, like sold for $5,000 over ask price. You could talk about the amazing parts of your city. You know, in Arizona, we have 5 cities that are on the safest places to raise a family list. Okay, so we have a lot of these kind of things that are amazing about our local area that I can be highlighting. The trust category is a great place to pull in your vendors. If you have like an architect you love to work with, or an interior designer, or a moving company, or anybody that you really have in kind of your referral network, that can be a great place to show off like, hey, I have this group of people that trust me, I trust them, I can be a resource for you beyond your sale. All that kind of stuff is a great way to do that, as well as telling more of those stories. So you could get involved in your community. You could show that you're really kind of hands-on. You could be talking about a problem that you solve for a buyer, showing an example of maybe, oh, they had this situation, they wanted to buy this, this, and this, but this didn't work out, and show how you kind of solved that problem for them. And then our last category is you. So again, pulling in a lot of those emotions, a lot of those personal stories or personal client stories. You could talk about maybe where you take your kids on the weekend for that local category. You could talk about a project that you're working on for that decor category. So there's lots of ways that we can be pulling all of those together, but you can see that I'm kind of just cross-referencing those there. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Now, are you posting this on your personal page, or if you have like a business page like you showed earlier on that screenshot, the Arizona real estate one? Mm-hmm. Where are you posting this?
So for me, I like to use this all on my personal accounts. I love to combine that so that I'm showing people what I'm doing in my daily life and also in real estate. I think that if you do have 2 separate accounts, you've got the business and the personal, you can definitely incorporate both of these into kind of both. So if you had a personal account and a business separate, you would maybe want to be talking a little more personal stuff, not as structured on your personal account. So I'd pull this into that business. All
right. And what about, I love the layout, first of all. This is awesome. Great job on making it so simple. Where would you recommend that we actually do posts versus stories?
So I will get to that. I'm going to talk about kind of how to structure these out now. So
now she's about to blow your mind.
Okay, I love it.
So first, we're taking this as like our subjects, like our headlines. This is the topics of what we're going to share. And truthfully, when I make these charts, this will really help me produce a lot more than 30 days of content. Because, I mean, if you're talking about home buyers tip, you're probably going to have more than one, right? You could make that a whole series of content. Yeah. So this truly should help you create a lot of different content, but it should be at least 30 days worth, okay? So again, just showing that you kind of cross-reference. So now that we have the topics, we structure these into captions. So all of these are used for your feed posts. And then I'm going to show you how you can duplicate that to stories without it taking a bunch of extra work, okay? So when you're structuring a caption, you should always have 3 parts to it. You should have the headline, which makes somebody stop when they're scrolling and think, okay, I want to keep reading this. Then you have to have the body, which is where you pull in those 3 E's. So you're pulling in the emotion or the education or the entertainment or a combination of them. And then the last part is the call to action, which might be the most important. And this is where you see a lot of people miss out on things on Instagram, is you should have a call to action with every single post. And what I don't mean is, I don't mean, hey, call me if you're ready to buy a house. We don't want that to be the call to action every single time. But what we do need to do is we have to condition our audience. That's what growing an audience is all about, is you're starting to train these people who respect you and who come to you for what you're providing. You're training them and conditioning them for what you want them to expect from you, what you want them to do. So that's why you see a lot of these big influencers doing maybe like a daily show, like where they hop on their live video. They have this consistency because they're training their audience to expect something from them regularly. Okay, so let me give you an example of what this can look like. So part 1 will be your headline. So this is just an example. I'll go through breaking it down for you. You could have 3 reasons that Phoenix is the #1 real estate market to invest in 2019. And then the body, and don't get overwhelmed by this, they do not need to be this long. I'm giving you an example of what you could put in here. But just like I said back on that chart, you could break this into 3 different posts if you wanted to. You could take this and give 1 reason per post, or you could just simplify these sentences a bit more. So we have 3 awesome reasons. This is that education. This is why people want to keep reading it. And then our call to action can be something as simple as getting them to engage. It could be, what city do you live in? Has it been growing or slowing down? Drop your answer below. So now we're encouraging them to engage with us. And one question I also get a lot is, okay, well, I've tried to do this. I tell them to comment, nobody does, and it's freaking embarrassing. So a way that you can resolve that problem, I have 2 tips for you there. First thing is, like I said, you're training and conditioning your audience. So if you just say to comment 1 time and they've never been told to do that before, then the chances of them doing it are a lot lower. So you have to stay consistent with it. But also, people really don't like to be the first person. Nobody likes to be the first person to do something. So if you're really concerned about this, you could partner up with a couple other agents, or even have a couple of your friends that drop that first or second comment on there to kind of show people like, hey, it's okay to start commenting. So that's a great way to kind of spur up those conversations.
It's just like at an open house, right? When you have the blank checklist, nobody fills it out. That's why Jane Smith always visits all of mine. Like, you're literally, it's so simple. But for me to have never thought about this, I feel like such an idiot right now. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
no, my mind, girl.
It's a great way to just get people feeling comfortable to do it. Another awesome way you can kind of incentivize people is, while you're still training them to get used to that, you could even offer like, hey, everyone that comments, I'm going to choose 1 winner for a coffee on me. You could send them a little $5 Starbucks gift card or something so simple, but obviously we know people love free things. So we can use that to kind of incentivize that engagement. So that can be a great way to do it as well, getting people to engage with you more frequently. So now we've got our final product, okay? And I'm going to show you how to grab another lead here. So this is your second way to generate leads. So this is the final product, and you can see I trimmed those sentences down a bit. So that's how I would actually write it. I might even shorten it a little bit more, because you don't want people to read a total blog post, but you do want to give them enough that they can be like, oh, wow, this is great. So that's how I kind of could simplify that even more. And the way that you can grab a lead here is, you want to, if you're encouraging people to comment below or drop an emoji or like the photo, while you're building your audience, you should be taking the time to connect with these people. So either doing that yourself, or even having a virtual assistant or something, taking the time to communicate with these people. I really recommend that you do it yourself. You could set aside 10 minutes each day to respond to everyone that dropped a comment, or as many as you can, or shooting them a message and saying, hey, thanks so much for commenting. I saw that you live in Texas. That's awesome. I have a great agent over there, whatever. You know, you can just be starting that kind of conversation. Or you could direct them back to that same link in your bio. You could say, hey, I saw that you commented. You might be interested in purchasing this year. I have an awesome free guide in my bio if you want to download it. Or you can be encouraging people to shoot you a message, okay? So the power of direct messages is insane, and it can be such a resource for you for having those communications with people. So I really recommend you're commenting back to people, you're shooting them messages, and you're taking a little bit of time each day to build up those relationships in your messages. And you're gonna also see, of course, your Instagram engagement increase, because when you start to build up that relationship and have a conversation, people are like, okay, I see you. They start paying attention to you more. You start showing up on their feed more, and you're just getting a lot more result there. So that can be your
great point. I love that.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So this, you've already blown my mind, but I've heard lately that you need to prime your Instagram account. So how do you feel about that? I don't know if we're going to discuss that in a bit or not, where you're supposed to like all these things before you comment so you can get your engagement up and all this old weird stuff. How do you feel about that?
So this is funny. There are actually so many different like concepts and theories on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Basically, from my understanding, the way that Instagram truly works, and I've really proven this through my own experience and with all the clients I've worked with, is it does kind of have you rated on an engagement score. So they see if you're on there and you're active on your stories and you're engaging with other people and you're, you know, posting your photos and you're liking other people's stuff, they're going to prioritize you on your feed. You're going to have more eyes on what it is that you're doing. So if you're engaging with people, especially direct messages, if you're direct messaging somebody, you're going to be placed at the top of their feed now, because it shows that you guys kind of have that relationship. So it does matter to be engaging, not just jumping on and just posting your picture and then being done for the day. But it can be time consuming, right? So that's why a lot of people don't do it. So it can be as simple as fitting in 10 minutes or 5 minutes in your day to just go and engage with some people in your area, stuff like that. And not to get too complex, but a great way to do that is searching for like locations or searching for hashtags.
I did something right.
Good. I love it. Or finding other local businesses in your area. So like Soul Cycle or something, and engaging with the people who follow the local Soul Cycle in your area, because guess what? They live there. They're going to probably need to buy or sell eventually. They know people that are coming there. So
I think I picked it up from I actually found a new hashtag I didn't know existed. It popped up somewhere on on a local food place. And I was like, huh. And so I did pick that up, which could be why my engagement went up. I didn't think about that until you just said that.
Yeah. So that's an awesome way to kind of find new people to connect with. So that's our second way that you can be capturing some leads. And then, like I said, we just want to be training our audience, because the best marketers and salespeople online, they're doing it all the time. They're selling and marketing to you all the time, but it doesn't feel like it, because you don't want to go on there and just feel like you're selling, right? You want to be building relationships. You want people to be coming to you. So that's why a strategy like this is super important, because you're training them and really conditioning them to expect what they're getting from you, which is going to be education or entertainment or emotion or some sort of connection and value that makes them want to keep coming back to you. So then the way that we duplicate that over to stories and make this simple on ourselves, and this will be our third way that we can collect a lead, is so now that you've kind of outlined all of your feed posts, we had that graph where we put out all of the subjects, and then we take those and turn those into our captions. And then from there, instead of having to create all new stuff for your stories and figuring out what the heck you're going to do there, you can duplicate it. So basically what I recommend is, now that you have your plan for your posts, creating some stories that correspond, that complement that. So it could be right after you posted your story about why Phoenix is a great place to invest in 2019, you could hop quickly on your story and say, hey guys, I just shared 3 awesome tips, 3 reasons why Phoenix is the #1 market to invest in. I've got even more tips for you guys, drop a few more nuggets for them, and then have some sort of call to action there too. So it takes you a total of maybe 30 seconds to jump on your story and do that too. A way you can save even more time there is you can pre-record some. So while you're doing your posts, you could pre-record 5 30-second videos that you can have on your phone and just put to your story anytime. So that's super easy. I do recommend that these are videos of you talking, but I know for a lot of people that's like the scariest thing they could possibly imagine. So if it absolutely terrifies you, definitely starting with like a static post where it's just you typing is totally fine. But the power of people seeing your face and actually putting your face on that camera is major. And I don't want you to underestimate how powerful that really can be. So I think it's going to be major that you get on there and start showing your face, even if it's scary, even if you trip over your words. Being normal, being a real person is what allows people to connect with you even more. So don't worry about, you know, if you've got your hair looking messy or whatever it is, just get out there and start doing it. And then always include some sort of call to action on your stories as well. This is my number one source of leads, truly. Every single time I post a story, I'm getting at least 25 people who have opted in for more information. I would say about 70% of those end up converting into like a full lead. Yeah.
So when you're doing the video and you're talking about whatever you're talking about, you're like, hey, so go to my link up above or message me if you have any questions or if you want to join. What is it that you do? How do you do it?
Yeah, so I have 3 ways that I do that. So the first one is a poll, which you can kind of see here on this page. So the poll is, for example, on this one I said, is it time to buy your first home this year with this program? It's amazing. And I gave them 2 options to vote for, yes, help me buy, or I want more info. I don't give an option for no. My theory is if the answer is no, then just keep moving. I want to give as many opportunities to grab their information as possible. So I have 2 positive answers. And then every person that votes here, I get their information, or like I get their name. So then I follow up with a direct message. And of course, what you say in that message is up to you. I would say something like, hey, thank you so much for voting on that poll. I saw that you were interested in some more information. I would love to send you a copy of my free home buyer's guide. And then you could send them to that same link. Or you could encourage them to set up a call with you, encourage them to, you know, set up a consultation, whatever it is on how you want to actually capture that. But that can be a great way to do it because people feel like it's not quite as scary to just hit that little poll button and then you can communicate with them. And then the second way that I do that is the questions feature, which looks very similar to the poll, but it gives them the option to type in their answer. So you could have a question like, what kind of credit score do you think you need to buy a house in 2019? Or how much money do you think you need for a down payment? People could be voting on that. Or one of my all-time favorites lately, which has been great, is have people write what they're currently paying for rent and then send them a house that would be the same payment in your local area. So you can start showing people, kind of painting that picture of how much they're spending in rent and how much that could get them in a house. So that can be a great way to kind of spark people's interest. Or you can also do them for other fun ways. They don't always have to be like that full call to action, like as aggressive. Sometimes it could be, you know, a picture of a pretty kitchen that just got remodeled and say, vote on, or tell me how much you think this remodel costs. And they could put their number in and whoever gets the closest, again, gets like a free $5 gift card to Starbucks or something. But you're just encouraging those people to continue to vote with you, you know?
One of the first lessons that I took from your IGTV was the poll. I had a cute kitchen. I was like, do you like 2-tiered islands? I couldn't think of anything else. That has gotten the most engagement I've ever seen. Yes or no?
Yeah.
And so I was like, are you serious right now? Like, oh my gosh. It was so simple, but it seems so difficult when you're never seeing Instagram and you're a Facebook person like I am.
Yeah. So it really is pretty simple. And it's great seeing that list of people's names. You can just tap on them and send them an easy message. You could even type out the message and just send it kind of to the same people to kickstart that conversation. And then the third way you can do that on your stories is with the swipe up. So to swipe up and go to a link, you do need 10,000 or more followers, which seems daunting. It seems like a lot, but truly I use this method almost more than linking anything. If you follow me, you'll see that I don't hardly ever put a link for a swipe up. When you do not have a link set up, so you can use this with anybody, anyone who has any number of followers, when they swipe up, it starts a message with you. It starts a direct message. So you could use this exact same story, say, is it time to buy your first home this year with this program? Swipe up and type info for more information. I usually use something that's really easy for them to type. So one word like info or me or house or an emoji or something that's easy, but they could be swiping up. It starts that quick message with you. They send it, and then they've already kind of opted in telling you that they want more information. So then again, whatever your message looks like to capture that as a lead, to either send them to that link or set up a call with you or whatever that looks like for you, that's another great way.
That's a great tip right there, just to swipe up, because most people have under 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
Just swipe up, just message me really quick, just to let me know where you're at or how you doing. No, that's really good. Good job.
Yeah.
That's really
Swipe up, drop a house emoji.
Yeah, there you go. And it's fun and it's easy, and you've really confirmed that somebody's really interested, because they can't be like, oh, I accidentally did that. You know, they actually did. And when you swipe up and you have the link there, you don't know who's going there. So there's no way to track who's going there. If they don't opt in or whatever to where you're sending them, you can't track that. So this is much more trackable to actually see who is doing what and who is interested in what you're showing. So that is our third way to capture leads. So we talked about the link in the bio with a lead magnet. We talked about the Instagram stories and the 3 ways you could do that. We talked about the Instagram post with having that call to action, which is super important. So I wanted to open it up real quick before I just tell you about one other option for you guys to learn some more. But if you have any questions, any other quick questions, I can answer.
I actually have a couple of questions here for you. Let me see. One of my agents texted me some questions. There it is. Devin.
While he's waiting, waiting to read, I got you. You posted on one of your IG stories. Can you give us 2 apps that you use that are free, where you can create some of your cool visuals, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I was asleep. Sorry.
That's a great question. So I actually create a lot of the stuff that I make just on Instagram, honestly, because it's easy. I like to save time. I'm all about efficiency and getting stuff out there. But if you do want to use apps to kind of dress it up a little bit, the 2 that are my favorites are Unfold, which is basically cool, like templates and stuff that you can throw a quick photo in. It is free. There are some paid options, but I just use the free one, super easy. And the second one is called Over, like Over, Over. And that one's awesome too. Again, tons of templates. A lot of stuff's already built out. You can do a lot with that app. It can be a little confusing when you first use it. So they have some templates you can use. They have some videos you can watch, but I'd almost just recommend poking around on there for a little bit and you'll figure it out. That one, again, has a paid option, but the free one has more than enough features to use. So those are my 2 for dressing it up and making it look nice.
I love Over, by the way. I use it almost daily.
Yeah, it's super cool. Okay, any other questions?
Yes, good. Here are my questions. So number 1 is, this comes from Devin. Devin saying he sees posts that in Instagram from these people that have a lot of following, but that have nothing to do with their business or listings or whatever it has to do with real estate. That's kind of like, he thinks it's counterintuitive as to what an agent should be doing. Shouldn't an agent be posting a lot about what they closed or what transactions they're doing? What are your thoughts on that? I know you went a little bit over that, but what are your?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we did kind of go over that in the chart. I think it's good to have a combination, because truly, if you're just posting pictures of all the houses that you closed, that doesn't really pull on anybody's heartstrings. That doesn't really entertain them. That doesn't really do a lot for them mentally in a way that's going to help you stand out. When they're seeing it in the moment, they might be like, oh, cool, good for them. But that doesn't really help them stick out. So that's why showing some things about you personally is really good. And that's why showing a lot of things that provide value that can educate people is great to kind of break that up, in my opinion.
Awesome. All right, I have another question here. This one's from Zach. Now, as far as creating grid content on Instagram, do you set up the photo shoots or just on the fly? What do you normally do?
That's an awesome question too. So as far as the photos go, there's a couple ways you can do it. One, you could easily grab a friend, grab another agent, grab your spouse, whoever, and have them snap a few good photos of you to use kind of throughout your feed. Another way to do it is, I sometimes do use a photographer, and I'll just pay them for a day, like once a month or so, and just shoot a ton of photos so that I always have a bunch to use. If that's not something you want to do, then again, grabbing a friend to take them for you, or taking them on the go. Or of course, in real estate, we're lucky enough to have a lot of great pictures to use of houses that we're selling. Or sometimes they also recommend having a low-cost stock photo subscription. So there's a lot of stock photo subscriptions that have great real estate like stock photos you can use. So if you want to break up your feed a little bit, that's an awesome way to get more content as well.
All right, another question. I'm just going to bombard you with questions.
No, that's good. I love it.
There's actually 2 more questions here. People are texting me because my team is watching. And so here's a question. In regards to stories, you can you can put some money behind stories so that it can throw your stories out to more people. Do you recommend that at the beginning, or to get more engagement? What do you recommend?
Truly, I do not recommend pumping much money into your Instagram strategy until you have it really nailed down and you have a great kind of organic base built. It's similar to Facebook in the sense of like when you pay for that boosted post, it doesn't really do a lot for you. So unless you're actually going into your ads manager and building out a whole Instagram ad, just promoting the post is not going to do much for you, and it's going to kind of be a waste of your money. So I'd recommend, if you're really trying to get more eyes on what you're doing and more engagement, spending, instead of the money on that, spending time or paying somebody to spend the time engaging with other people and collaborating with other people. So you could try finding other businesses that complement yours within your area and do like a live together, or ask if you can do a story takeover and convert some of their audience over to yours, or do some sort of giveaway with your local vendors. You could do something like that. It's going to be a better way to get more eyes on what you're doing instead of just kind of throwing money at it.
All right. And how do you find somebody, let's say like you, who can then, who we can connect with and say, okay, well, you know what? Follow my friend, this person. I'll follow Brittany, right, on Instagram, and then help Brittany grow her Instagram. How do we go about finding people and asking them? That was a separate question for somebody else.
Wait, I'm not sure that I understand the question. So
you know how you have quite a few followers, mm-hmm. right? And then let's say we have somebody like Brittany who's growing her presence on Instagram. How would she go out and finding influencers like you to kind of promote her Instagram page to help her grow?
Got you. That's a great question. So again, I really love to focus on hyper local connections. So finding somebody first who has, like, it's a micro influencer. So somebody who has 10,000 or less, maybe a little bit more than that, but some kind of influencer who definitely has more followers than you do, but it doesn't have like hundreds of thousands, because a lot of times they're going to charge you a lot of money to post anything and it might not be as effective. And then find a way to either, some people will ask you to pay them for shout outs and things like that, which can be useful if you want to. But instead of that, I typically recommend doing some sort of trade or offering to do a giveaway where you provide the prize as long as they tag you in it, so that people have to follow you and them in order to get this awesome prize. Something like that can be a great way to be finding people, and just start small. Start with people with like 5,000, 10,000 followers, and don't get afraid if they say no, because some people are very specific about who they'll align with. But I'd say if you take the time to kind of build a relationship with somebody first and then kind of ask those questions, a lot of people will be more than happy to do it.
All right. And then last question from our end. Do you coach? Do you help people? Do you have a program? What is it that you, how can you help people if they want to go deeper in this?
Yes, that's a great question. So I do have something to offer you guys, which is going to be really helpful. So I do work directly with managing accounts. But what I've really found, which is why I came up with this solution, is that paying an agency to run your account for you, or paying somebody to run your account for you when you're in the space of like a service-based business, it's not always as effective. And the reason for that is because they can't be in your shoes. They can't build that true connection and relationship with your audience, which as an agent in this real estate profession, it is so important that we are truly connecting with the people that make up our audience. Because ultimately, if they decide to work with you, that's going to be quite the journey and hopefully a lifelong relationship. So paying somebody else to just post mindless things on your account isn't going to get you that next step. So I wanted to create something that kind of took it to that next level. So I actually have a course available that is, and like I said, 78% of my transactions in 2018 came directly from all the stuff that I teach. I don't hide anything. I don't hold anything back. There's nothing else behind the scenes. It's all there. So I put together 29 different videos with 15 modules that breaks it down and goes into everything really in depth. So it's an 8-week program, but it is self-guided. So if you choose to do it all in a weekend, then by all means, you can binge watch it. But it's put together. And the great thing about this too is it is lifetime access. So just as Facebook changes its algorithm every 2 days, it feels like. So does Instagram. They're constantly changing. They're constantly adding new things. So is our course. We're always adding to it. We're always changing it. We're always making it the absolute best so that it's like a lifelong resource. So if you could visualize real quick, if 1 year from today, you had so many leads, like more leads than you knew what to do with, and it got you to the point of literally having to join a team or grow a team or add people to your business just to keep up with all the business that was coming your way, that would be pretty cool, right? That would be pretty priceless for the most part.
Yes. Yes.
So that's what we wanted to create. So on average, our students, and we ran our first program back in October with 20 students, which I'm happy to say we had over 20 deals closed just from the students in that group. But on average, our students generated an extra 12 leads in their first 4 weeks. So just from Instagram, just from all these strategies that we show, and it doesn't cost you $5,000 or $3,000 or this recurring regular cost ever. It's a one-time cost that you get lifetime access to, and you get access to working with me, okay? So we have quite a few people who've gone through it already. Adriana was one of our students that closed 3 deals since she started in October just from Instagram. So that was really cool. And like I said, we had over 20 deals closed in round 1. So I've got tons of students that had a lot of fun with it, lots of appointments set, lots of things.
That's awesome.
And it really has proven itself to be incredible. So I wanted to make sure that as many people who want to take that next step and dive into Instagram even further can do that. So that's why I kind of created it. So it's great for people if you've had clients, but you can't figure out how to like consistently build that following and get clients through social media, or if you've yet to close a transaction directly through Instagram. I obviously cannot, for legal reasons, guarantee that, but like I've shown you, every student in our first round closed a deal that they got from Instagram. So
that's insane.
It really is. Like, it's just these simple things that nobody is doing. And I want to just open the door to that. Instead of keeping it in my agency, I want people to know how to do it themselves. So that's really what we're teaching, so that you don't have to feel like overwhelmed by marketing, feeling like social media is wasting your time, anything like that. I want to create a way that you don't have to pay a bunch of money every single month to figure out how to do it. You can do it all by yourself. And I actually took it a step further. There is even a module in there, sneak peek, that teaches you how to train an assistant or a virtual assistant. So if you do want to totally take it kind of off your hands, we have the workflow of exactly what to do to set that up so that it's still effective without taking your time. So that's kind of the way that we set it up. This is just an overview of what is inside of it. We have all of these IG features, why they're great for your real estate business. I have templates and examples of everything. We have the content that you can create that sets you apart from other realtors. There's all about Instagram SEO, the branding tricks, the things that you need to truly build a professional account. And the reason I think that's also really important is I look at my Instagram almost as a resume. I think that it's a great explanation and display of how you can market. So if you have a really professional appearance online, and I know that this is becoming more and more important as people are looking at you, people are looking at your Facebook, people are looking at your Instagram, they're seeing what you have out there. And that's a part of the impression that they're forming about you, truly. So it's really important to have that professional look, have that appearance. And then this one's big. We talk about what to put on Instagram stories for lead generation. And I created 10 scripts that you could literally read word for word for your Instagram stories. So I'm encouraging people. I know that it's the big fear to put your face on your story, but I'm encouraging everyone to do it. And so I wanted to make that as easy for you as possible. We go into Instagram hashtags and which ones to use to grow your account. We talk about a bunch of different growth strategies. We talk about, again, kind of this 30 days of content in one day, but also how to take it a step further to automate it even more so that you're saving as much time as you can. We give you a few other ways to generate leads through your Instagram. We talk about that paid advertising on Instagram. So my goal is always to teach people how to do it organically first. I think that having that organic, base is really important, but then having the ability to kind of pump some funds behind that if you want to is great too. So that's what we dive into, and then building your following quickly with the right people that you're actually going to be able to connect to. So that's what the course kind of looks like. We also have a community. We've got 30 days of content already created. So I actually wrote out those 30 days of posts, just like I showed you in this group.
That's awesome.
The stories too. So it's all created for you, which is obviously proven to generate leads because I use all of it myself. So it's customizable, it's ready to use, and repeatable. So you can kind of rinse and repeat. And then we've got an Instagram stories highlights cover. So we have a library of those that you can just take and put on your account. We have all of it all set up for you. So those are some of the other things that are kind of in there for you. And then the cost of that is just a one-time of $497, and my face is actually covering it, but you guys get a $100 discount. I don't know if you can see that. It's in the corner that my face is on right now.
Yeah, they can see it. It's just
okay.
we're the only ones that can see that.
Okay. I was like, hopefully my head's not covering that, but if you use the code LabCoats, you do get $100 off. So
nice. So it's $397.
I wanted to offer that to you guys. Yes. So that's $397. Or if you want one-on-one working with me too, that's $997, which again, you can have the $100 off. So a lot of the people who've done the one-on-one, they use it to have me help them create content right then and there, or come up with a unique strategy for themselves. So those are kind of the two options.
The one-on-one is 2 1-hour sessions, right?
Correct. Yeah. And they can be broken down however you wish. They can be 4 30-minute sessions. I've had some people do before and after they finish the course, totally up to how you want to break it up.
All right. And Tessa, the code is good for a few weeks or a couple of weeks because we're going to replay this into LabCoats once Facebook works.
Yeah.
Again.
I'll leave it open for a while.
Okay, good.
For like 6 months for you guys so that everyone can use it.
All right. Good.
Did she say 6 months?
Good. Well, we're going to have her back as soon as Facebook gets her act together.
Oh my gosh. I know it's driving me nuts today.
I know. I wanted to say one other thing. I don't know if you can hear me or not because my internet, but I learned a huge amount from just following Tessa. She does the IGTV, and I just started learning from there, which makes me want to say, if what I learned was from her IG was free, I can't imagine what you get when you pay for it. Like, I got work to sign up, so that's where I'm at with it. I'm gonna code, yay! So, there you go.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I truly am super passionate about, I don't want this to ever be something that people just come into and they feel like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like I showed you and talked about on this presentation, you can take everything that we just did and really go and apply it right away. You know, these are actionable things that you can start doing. And that's my goal in everything that I teach. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you saying that. I'm glad that you were able to already learn some stuff just from my Instagram.
Yeah, this was great.
No, it's been so crazy. Yeah, and even the highlights and different ways that I'm looking at Instagram differently, where Facebook, thanks to Tristan, that guy down there, I was able to kind of master Facebook. Then Instagram, I was just like, I'm too old for this shit. So you're going to have to.
That's so funny.
I had to pull the old Danny Glover because that's what I was like. I was like, I'm old. I don't understand this. I don't get it at all. Then I watched her IGTV for 5 minutes and was like, I'm such an idiot. So, yeah, it's super cool.
Good.
Tristan's going to
be really helpful.
I love it. All right, so Tessa, where do people follow you on Instagram? What's your?
So my Instagram is Tessabella with 2 A's. So I can't get to the little chat box, but it's Tessa with 2 A's on both of them.
All right, perfect. Let me.
I'm typing it in now.
Oh, you're doing it? Okay, perfect. And then what we'll do is when I do this Facebook watch party, Tessa, I'm going to put it at the very top and then explain what we're talking about. And I hope that it's ready by tomorrow so we can do this.
Yes, that's awesome. I hope so too. I hope Instagram and Facebook get their stuff together because it's driving me crazy.
It's been rough.
Me too. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know it's a later in the day there, so thanks for taking the time to do that.
Of course. No, thank you so much for having me. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to find me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and I'm happy to answer anything. So
all right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye, Tessa.
Bye.
Bye, Brittany.
Thank you. Bye.